was ready. I was getting it further like comfortable here, ready for the next game of that series, as I thought Swids was going to take it. But we do have our last one: Zhym versus SilverName. SilverName had his Warlock banned out. Zhym with the usual Warrior banned away from him there. And again, we are going to see the huge from a SilverName, I guess, with this Highlander Mage as his mage of choice still.
Yeah, and it has failed to be impressive in these last couple of weeks, I would say. Bank Yugi bringing it in APAC, it's not really putting up the numbers for him. I think he's just fallen perhaps below 50% overall with the deck, having built up a pretty huge sample size with it, which, you know, maybe we might see him abandon it now, having crossed that threshold. SilverName, of course, has achieved magical things with Highlander Mage. He is going to the World Championships for a reason, and it is largely the keyest of cards that you see there on the graphic for his Highlander Mage that is responsible for his World Championship appearance. But I mean, I just put him in the same bracket as Bank Yugi. Like I think this is a misbring. I think it's the third best Mage deck right now, and I think it's a mistake to be bringing it to the tournament.
And I think for me, it's the other side of what I think we were talking about yesterday about A-Rock, where I believe you should play decks you're comfortable with and you enjoy playing, because I think you'll just play better for a start. But there is a limit on that where you just become stubborn, right? And then that can be a drawback where you're taking like an actively ill-performing deck just because you like it. I think you should try to like or at least submit decks that you enjoy, but also that do perform well, and it hasn't really looked too great so far. Both players as well, as we can see what's the first matchup is going to be. Both players are fans of the old Mali Druid also, so we might see a bit of a different shape once again to these lineups for these players.
Yeah, and it's a pretty interesting matchup, honestly, with the Mali Druid going up against the Highlander Mage, because it's quite similar, I would say, to the Highlander Priest matchup, where the pressure can come, but it's hard for it to really come fast enough for the Mage in the matchup. They do obviously have ways of getting some ramp themselves, just with the Zephyros into Wild Growth, but they do it a little bit less consistently than the Priest does, even, because the Priest has the ability to steal it from the opponent as well. So it's quite hard for them to keep up, but they're probably a little bit better at generating that mid-game pressure when they do get up there as well. Yep. So it's a pretty similar matchup overall. It's just the sliders on the different factors in the matchup are just set to slightly different levels.
Looks like a fantastic opening for me, though. Just looking at Zhym's hand at the top there, the Overgrowth and Breath of Dreams. No dragon, but still looking pretty good.
I thought you were just doubling down on your SilverName meme for a second there. It's like, yeah, pretty sick opening hand, puzzle box in the opener, perfect, let's go.
The trick is to know when to stop, Sol. That's the trick. I think the 3 boxes were enough. The Ysera off the top there for Zhym, though, it does mean that Breath of Dreams not only draws him a card, but also ramps straight into Overgrowth.
Yeah, it's insane. But likewise, SilverName with the pretty clutch top deck of his own, as mentioned. This is their only real way of picking up the ramp. He's still going to be significantly behind on ramp this game, but that's going to happen.
SilverName's responses. Sorry. It's just SilverName on camera is great.
Mm-hmm. Double bait, Sarah! Amazing!
And then there's the overflow as well, just to back it up.
Turn 4, by the way. Let's go.
Zhym's been watching Casey.
He has. Learned from the best.
Not going to go for Jandis by the looks of things. Oh, okay. He's just weighing up the Twilight Drake and the Ray of Frost on the Ysera. But I think most importantly, SilverName just needs to try and land as much damage as possible. Weaver. Coin Ray!
That's insane. You just put the illusion on the Wormweaver, right? It's done its job.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
What to do? What to do?
Or do you? What if you put the illusion on the Wrath Spike and then hold the coin and don't do it this turn, and just be a turn slower for the sake? Because I think it actually makes your curve a little bit better if you don't coin this turn.
Well, there's still Twilight Drake into Solarian next turn.
Sure.
If then you can go
7, 8, 9 from there. Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Alright, I'm convinced.
And also the nature of even the second Ray of Frost, even if it's off curve with a Ray, well, that off curve play is buffing his mana worms, right? So that's just worthwhile anyway.
Oh! Spell damage.
I'm waiting for like
Oh!
Bloom? Bloom? Oh! Is that double Bloom?
No.
Oh.
That's an Anubis Defender.
Double Bloom swipe and SilverName's portrait just explodes.
Yeah, wait, what's happened here? It is an Anubis Defender.
Oh, there we
it is.
go.
Okay.
Catching up. And dramatic pause.
Yeah. 6 damage crystal power is still pretty sick, but he was one Vate away from a good time there.
That's a good point, actually. Zhym doesn't get the information, right?
No, he doesn't know.
Yeah, if you actually kill it in one, it just doesn't tell you, does it?
Yeah. On his screen, this will still have the, ooh, maybe I'm an illusion effect on it.
Love it if that's the technical name in the code of the game.
Yeah. That's just how they refer to it internally.
Mm. So how's the animation on the, ooh, I might be an illusion thing going on there?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the Blizzard offices.
I will crush your delusions of grandeur.
There is
If
a
he
Zeph
had
for a
4
sim
mana,
play. I know, right?
I would be the
So
first to
insane.
jump all over this, but I restrain myself.
Yeah.
What to
Saying
do?
that, though,
What to do?
some of the other options don't look great. Like, is Arcane Missiles that good on this board? I guess it just buffs the mana worm, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of health on this board.
Right. It's playable, and it meant that, if he hit 1 on the Anubis Defender, he could ping the Anubis Defender, trade the Jandis into the Dragon instead. Other way around, he just gets to ping the Dragon, all of which are pretty important.
Imagine there's still going to be a Ray of
Gonna
Frost
use the
somewhere.
Ray.
Yeah.
Okay, and then VT instead. Alright, sure. It's 1 of that damage back from the extra spell that he uses in the trade. It's fine.
We are friends now. Hello, friend.
Hi, friend.
Still swipe, nothing to be sniffed at here with the spell damage dragon still on board.
Yep.
But it, yeah, probably not. Being too adventurous. I was just glancing though at Alex Strasser's face.
He's just so far ahead on tempo, right? Though he doesn't really need to be
Yeah.
trying to do anything unnecessarily scammy here. His scam has already been executed. It was turn 4 Ysera on me.
Many moons ago.
Yeah.
And it's just, hey,
Alright, now you do it.
more card drop.
Boom. Get him. 12 damage
can you
face,
still-
draw 2 more
Can you draw
cards.
into second Bloom swipe?
I
The lethal
bring
hit?
life.
Yes, he can. Should definitely lead with the Twilight Runner attack here, just to get yourself the most information as quickly as possible.
This timeline amuses me.
Some other weird combinations of lethal possible that turn, with just like more spell damage dragons coming out, and then you draw Moonfire or something like that.
Still though, uphill climb doesn't quite cut it here as a descriptor of this game for SilverName right now.
Okay, cool. You have a Blood Mage Thanos now.
You win this.
Oh, it's dead, and you drew a card. Alright, he's out. Nice.
And honestly, you don't really win those when Zhym gets off to a start like that. That is probably the best selection of draws there, or at least curve from Druid, right? You're not going to get much better than ramp into the Ysera on turn 4, and there's, even though it may not have been cast on curve, but the overflow backup just to keep the the cards coming and the dragons coming. It's about as good as it's going to get there for Zhym. So him getting off to a pretty good start there, Sol.
Yeah, and even then, like, the dragons were pretty well stacked towards the top of the deck as well. Like, you can see games where you have that start, and then, the next 8 cards you draw, none of them are dragons. It's not catastrophically unlikely to happen,
Mhm.
but He did have a good pile of dragons on the top, and he had a good pile of dragons on the top because all the spell damage coming out off the initial pool was insane for him to be able to fight back against, which was what was admittedly a pretty strong counter push from SilverName. I think he did the best he absolutely could in trying to generate a board. Went with the Jandis. Had momentary thoughts about going Twilight Drake instead, but I absolutely liked the Jandis there because he just needed to high roll in that spot, right? He needed something nuts from the Jandis, and it was almost good enough with the Wormweaver to help him fight back. And maybe if we hadn't seen some spell damage coming back the other way, he might have just slowly managed to grind his way back onto that board. But with the spell damage pulls, he was still some way off.
Yeah, good effort, but not enough for SilverName there in that game number 1, which means Zhym is leading 1-0. We are going to give the players just a few minutes to get ready for their next game, so we'll be right back to continue our final match of Hearthstone Grandmasters for this week.
Welcome to an exclusive interview with former world champion of Hearthstone, James Firebat Kostasich. Hi, James.
Hi, happy to be here for the interview.
Hi, welcome to the
Thank
interview. So how do you deal with your old age?
Yeah, for esports, I guess I'm getting kind of up there at this point, but I don't travel as much as some of the young guys. I try and stay home and stream more and focus on growth there.
I have trouble accepting my own mortality. Ever think about having pups?
Pups? Like dogs?
Pups.
Yeah, I had a dog before. It's hard with esports and the traveling. I'm kind of more on the cats for now rather than dogs, but I do love pets.
Where did you move this winter?
I just stayed in Michigan.
You didn't move?
No.
Well, how do you deal with the colder months?
Yeah, it kind of sucks. You go inside, turn the heat on, right? But, snow is always a bummer. It actually wasn't too bad this year. There wasn't too much shoveling you had to do.
Well, this winter I didn't really feel like moving, so I slept for like 3 months.
That sounds nice.
We're here in Texas. Did you fly to Texas?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I'm only in Detroit, so it was only like a 2.5-hour flight. It was pretty good.
I can only fly at night because it seems like there's a better selection of food.
Yeah, I don't think there was food on my flight.
You want some fruit? Okay, this fruit went bad, by the way.
We are back and continuing our series between Zhym and SilverName. SilverName got the rough end of the stick there, I guess, going up against Zhym's Druid, who managed to draw the perfect curve, but still has plenty of time to fight back. Zhym is going to be on his Mage, going up against now SilverName's Druid here. So Zhym rocking the tempo Mage, none of that Highlander shenanigans for him, Sotti.
Yeah, and it's slightly disappointing to see that SilverName's Highlander Mage went down to just an absolute nutso Druid draw from Zhym, because it means I can't really fairly continue to criticize SilverName for bringing Highlander Mage, right? Because any deck would have lost to that draw. You just don't beat that. So the fact that it was Highlander Mage ended up not being relevant. So we'll have to see if it comes back around in the series again before we can really build up any kind of objective opinion on SilverName's performance with that deck. But we are going to leave it in the past for now. And it is going to be the Druid coming out from the other side from SilverName, which, as you mentioned, is very similar, but it's a very, very different Mage deck on the other side.
Yeah, and so far Zhym not having the largest sample size ever, but currently 6 and 8 with this tempo Mage so far in Grandmasters. So not really having the best results. We've seen some players with doing much better with it. Maybe this just isn't his comfort, or maybe it's just a couple of rough games, because like I said, not a huge sample size there, but always interesting just to see how these players are performing with decks that they're bringing, like week on week style, similar to we talk about SilverName and his Highlander Mage, right? Just to see how good that actually is after a few weeks in.
And this is not a bad start from SilverName's side either, by which I mean he has Overgrowth in his hand, and basically no start with Druid is bad if you simply have Overgrowth. Nowhere near as explosive as we saw from Zhym on the other side, but enough to be getting on with for sure.
Crystal Power could just be used here to keep things simple and clear off the 2-2. There are definitely higher priority kill targets with that Crystal Power,
exactly.
but do you just want to be sat and hit for 2 every turn for the foreseeable future? I don't know.
I think using it is fine. Generally, there's kind of a concept with Mali Druid where your deck is so powerful if you get to survive and activate your late game turns, that just being efficient and spending all your mana in the early game turns is usually not far from being wrong, or even less far from being wrong as spending all your mana usually is.
Hold on. Things can happen this turn, Sol.
Do we need to send up the Derek signal?
Yeah. What would it even look like? I don't want to know. There's probably some kind of meme I don't understand. I think that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
But that would be the trick. The image would always be a meme you personally do not understand.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. It's like one of those optical illusions. It's like a painting where, like, wherever you are in the room, it seems like it's looking at you. Yeah. It's just whichever person looks at it.
Yeah, and as soon as you've maybe even Googled the origin of the meme and why it's funny to try and get into the right mind space,
and it changes. As soon as you know that it changes, yeah.
And then you just know Derek's nearby, chuckling to himself.
Yeah.
Calling us, I don't know, old people or something. I don't know.
Old people?
Yeah. I think that would be his comment. You old person, you wouldn't get it. You're not cool enough. Most importantly, though, getting back to something a little bit more serious and interesting, Zhym has double Apprentice for 2 turns now, and it's still not gone off with it. What is he waiting for, is my question.
So I would imagine it's this turn now, because at this point he's actually able to dump quite a lot of his hand, dump his coin, and then also potentially play any and all copies of Arcane Intellect that he generates, because card draw here is the important thing. Because the surface level answer to why hasn't he done it yet is because he has no reason to. He has no payoff in his hand currently. So he needs to make sure he has enough hand space to be able to draw as many cards as possible. So, so if he can find Mana Giant, something to actually pay this off immediately. So he's going to dump the potion, sure, and he can play 1 more Apprentice and an Evocation.
Well played.
SilverName's having fun, at least. You can't deny that. He's having a good time.
Well, time is a word right now because Zhym hasn't. Is he just gonna wait?
What happened this turn?
Zhym took too long.
He was clearly, at the very least, indecisive about where he wanted the turn to end up. Because, like, clearly I was in a very different place than he was, because I would have drawn the maximum cards with the Cram session, as opposed to Zhym, who traded off the Blood Mage, looking like he was going to draw the minimum cards or not cast it at all. Because, again, like, the nuts is just Mana Giant that turn, right? Like, that's how that turn ends in a powerful way the most often.
Right, and I think one of the problems Zhym might have got himself into there was, but wait, you know, if I draw more cards, Evocation's worse. But I don't know if he necessarily needed Evocation to one happen or even be good.
Right.
And I think that's something that comes with a lot of experience, and this was a tricky turn as well with this potion unlocking basically the same turn again next turn but cheaper. So maybe he just thinks he has the time and has the option to do something bigger and better next turn.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it's a reasonable risk to take. Like, I'm not talking his eventual option down, because just saying, you know, a large amount of this board sticks into my Druid opponent who's, like, already used a Crystal Power and their entire hand has just been ramped so far, I think there's a pretty good chance that some of this sticks, and if it does, obviously your turn is completely bananas. And honestly, I'm quite pleased that we've ended up here, because we might be about to watch one of the most powerful tempo mage turns of all time.
Versus one of the most powerful Druid turns. Like, look at that board for SilverName. At
Mid-tier.
least damage-wise, pure minion damage looks very good here. Box, is it castable? It's close.
It was one off. It costs 6 and he has coin.
Now the real question is, did Zhym mess up all along by not putting Antonidas in his list?
Oh. At this point, these emotes might even be classified as tactical, just because any distraction you can possibly give to an opponent that hasn't squelched you here is to your benefit.
4 mana for that power of creation. Doesn't really have the space for it, but still, it's funny.
Yep.
He could actually breath his own 1-2 here. Oh, he's trading it. Okay, sure.
He's trading it, yeah.
I just didn't know if it was a certainty Zhym wanted to open up board spaces for SilverName. I definitely understand it, but it was a tough turn in general, honestly. I think Zhym did pretty well to just execute a full turn there.
Yeah.
Overloaded as well, SilverName, so he can't actually Alex draw Zhym's anything at all. Didn't need to himself, of course, but let's have that Anubis. Wait, shouldn't he have played it first?
You don't pick the
Why?
Did he know that wasn't Entity as a secret?
If he plays it first, he can't hero power one of the Sorcerer's Apprentices if it's Mirror Entity, right? Or was there no board space for it to spawn? Was there no board space for it to spawn?
Yeah, it wouldn't have spawned, right?
Okay. Sure.
I think, yeah.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah, that was the point. Yeah, okay. Question myself now. Pyroblast? I don't hate it.
How many apprentices does he have left? 2?
Yep. We get a secret check, Sol?
The secret's a Spellbender counterspell.
Okay.
Didn't hit any hits on the Anubisaf Defender, which is kind of irritating. Because
Still
now
trade
12,
off.
13, 14 damage with the Raz. Yeah, missiles hitting the Taunt minion there actually could have just got Zhym straight up lethal this turn. But now SilverName gets one more turn to find his way out of this. Moonfire is not the draw in many, many, many ways.
Yeah, in some worlds it could have been, though. If that just wasn't a counterspell, then it would have been lethal with just Alex, aggressive Alex trade in.
What to do?
SilverName does know that this isn't Mirror Entity already. He hasn't checked anything else, so it could still be Ice Barrier, could still be Counterspell, could still be Flame Ward. Now he gets the Counterspell message. He knows that he potentially has to trade to stay alive, but even then he doesn't have the trading power available to keep himself alive. So he just goes for the lethal out, doesn't hit it in the end, and then that is going to be a quick game number 2 for Zhym.
Oh.
I don't necessarily think we can say that was executed perfectly, but what we can say is that was a very, very difficult game to know what the line is. Like, can I tell you with 100% conviction, having played a ton of Tempo Mage myself, what the line was there with Double Apprentice, Potion of Illusion, Spell Damage, Cram Session, Evocation, Double Magic Trick is in your hand? No, I don't have a clue. I'd have to sit and think about it for about half an hour, and then maybe I might be able to give you an answer. Like,
with
Zhym
multiple
played...
screenshots and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Of, like...
right, yeah. So Zhym, did something coherent. He did something that had reasoning behind it, and then when it got to the difficult turn, he executed the difficult turn. Which
right.
I think bare minimum that's about what you can expect, and he was up to it.
I think that's the thing. Like I definitely go in on players when they don't finish turns, even if they're tough turns. If you don't finish your turn, you float in mana when you shouldn't have, and so on, so on. You don't get to pick discovers and things like that. I think that is unforgivable. I think making a hard turn, not doing the best, but having a turn is always at least decent and respectable, right? And that's the big thing I saw from Zhym there. He had that tough turn, or a few tough turns. He finished them. Whether his decisions, as you said, were 100% like always perfect, questions can be asked forever. I think he did well that game overall. We are now stepping pretty quickly into what could be the last game of this series and the last game of this week, in the European region at least. Zhym on his Priest, once again going up against SilverName on that Malygos Druid.
This is obviously a decent-looking opener for the Priest against the Druid. Just having
especially with an Evasive Feywing. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Imprison Valfiend into Evasive Feywing into Apotheosis plus something on the follow-up turn with the guaranteed minion coming out. Pretty strong, honestly.
SilverName will really want him to be hitting a dragon with this Breath of Dreams.
Yeet! Nope. Missed it. Must try harder.
Would have been a big deal as well, because it would have meant he could coin out the runner next turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
SilverName cannot believe it.
Yeet! Nope.
Does that help? That's something I've been missing in my ramp.
Oh yeah, you didn't know about that?
Yeah. Just like the whole day to get a better cat trait.
You just spend your mana, right? You just put the Apotheosis on the 3/5.
I think so. Like, why not? If anything, it's good versus a potential setup for SilverName in the next couple of turns. And like you said, most importantly, just spend the mana.
Mm-hmm.
We'll coin out, I imagine, Twilight Runner again. It looks weird to coin out the one that it just means you take 10, but the payoff is much higher in the following turns versus just coining out a minion that gets farmed on board instantly.
I would like one Power Word Feast, please. Oh, yes! Oh, the juice.
Is it ever Psyche Split? Do you ever assume it's going to live?
I do not assume it's going to live, no. I assume it's going to live if I give it 2 more health. Psyche Split is so greedy.
I think
So if your Feywing wasn't a Feywing as well, maybe Psyche Split would be justifiable, because you could say that SilverName will hard focus the 5/8, and then you just have a decent extra chunky minion to drop it on.
Well, next question.
Yeah.
Is Silence... Wait, he just went for the mystery choice.
He mystery choiced Embalming Ritual. What?
I don't know whether to be impressed or horrified, because I was even going to go to bat for Silence to an extent there.
Okay.
Because he knows there's double Anubisath and a teacher's pet. And 2 teacher's pets.
Mm-hmm.
Double check this to make sure. Yeah, double teacher's pet, double Anubisath. With this kind of threat level on board, although he knows the Feywing will die, he's pushing a lot of damage, and maybe a Silence to just skip the next taunt minion would have been good.
With the status of the board being threat level midnight.
I hope people understand that reference and realize why it tickled me so much.
I mean, it wasn't particularly niche, was it? I'm sure people understand.
Hey, I didn't watch it all till recently.
Yeah, that's true.
Zhym just aggroing.
Oh,
Put him down right now, but that was a good draw.
it was a huge draw, yeah.
Normally, 6 health, bit of a problem. But that Moonfire can make up some difference here.
SilverName is just going to take the value trades, which Zhym will be largely fine with because it does just play nicely into this Soul Mirror here.
Is he not going to kill the Vile Fiend?
Nope. Can't imagine he is. It's still, of course, it's still technically possible here with Crystal Power, with double Moonfire. Kind of looks like he's just leaving it up to me.
A little bit scary. I think if SilverName had ramped this game, I'd like it actually, because look at his hand, he's edging towards just killing Zhym. But he hasn't ramped, so not only does he still have to wait for Omu and other things, he also has to just wait a long time with mana. And look at the response here. This is huge.
Right. Ooh. The Cabal family has arrived.
Kleptomaniacs, all of them.
I know, yeah. You open the front door of their house, you just can't move. You can't even get in there. It's just completely cluttered with stolen bric-a-brac.
I wonder.
And now, however much it pains me, because I want to see the full combo every time, Swipe just looks too good.
Yep.
What to do?
He's so close, though, right? If you actually look at it.
Yeah.
Mally Swipe, Moonfire in hand already with the Alexstrasza. Like, he's so close.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Because
Time waits for no one.
the more he uses these tools, the further away he gets, which actually makes Zhym safer in the matchup.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, he is just going to die, and this is all just off the back of that highly aggressive opening Zhym had.
Yeah.
Like, that Vile Fiend that has only just died was played on curve.
Yep.
Now a yoink. Zhym taking the game-winning owl from last series.
Oh! Raised Dead is just guardian animals, but it costs 0!
Oh, strictly true, but I see your point.
Don't think about it!
You're going to embalm it as well and just have card draw forever.
Yeah, embalming on this is insane, right? Is playing Sethic that much more important?
It's also just 5 damage. I
Yeah,
think.
right.
Like,
Exactly.
guaranteed. Heal?
I do think the heal's fine. I think personally I would have gone Embalming Ritual, but I think healing might just be second choice over Sethic, because now essentially this is the greediest line, because now you have the Sethic and the Embalming Ritual still in your
Right.
hand to be able to do like the greediest possible things.
Either way, I will say I just did not like Sethic at all, so I'm glad for Zhym that he did not go for it that turn. That felt very odd.
Mm-hmm.
But yet again, same old problem for SilverName. If he swipes, which on paper as a basic Hearthstone turn looks very clean, it's just further and further away of him actually winning this game.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent of, is there a world in which he just... he can bloom Alex and then have bloom Mally Moonfire if he thinks his Alex can live next
Time
turn?
waits for no one.
It's a massive stretch, but...
He's just committed. He's fully committed at this point. He's just resetting the game, and we're in a very similar situation, really,
I mean,
to what we saw from Felkane.
Wait, how much damage does he have next turn? He has 22, right?
Yep.
Jeez. Mally goes Bloom, Germination,
Moonfire for 11 each. Yep.
The problem is, that's not 24.
It's not.
I bring life.
So he's going to go for Alex now, the additional turn.
Mm-hmm.
Can
And
Zhym
now,
heal?
Zhym does need healing. Shadow of Death. Galakron will take him up to 20, but 20 is not good enough. He needed the Apotheosis this turn. He needed Renew this turn. Need Radiance this turn.
He's got a chance with Spellkin.
A simple spell should do.
Double Radiance now? Just died.
It's just game.
Yep.
It's just game. Hold on to your seats because this turn is crazy. You don't often see this combo. But SilverName holding off on using these blooms, taking his time, getting the Alexstrasza down, setting up for this Malygos for 22 was enough. It means that SilverName is not out yet. He gets a win with this Malygos Druid eventually. And wow, must feel good there. Not only to get swept, but not to get swept in such an aggressive manner that he would have done versus Zhym then in that series.
Yeah, it would have been extremely one-sided 3-0 if it had gone down at that point. But very nicely navigated, I think, with the amount of overkill he had in hand. You know, we were saying, oh, he's so close, it feels bad to break up the combo. Which might almost just be completely the wrong way of looking at it, because his hand had so much overkill in terms of damage that he could afford to break up the swipes to keep himself alive. And then, as you saw, still had 22 burst at the end of the turn. But I'm more interested in looking at it from Zhym's side, like the turning down the power word feast there, just in terms of making the minion as big as humanly possible and just beating away in the early game and trying to end it immediately. I do also like your argument for silence as well, just being able to push through Teacher's Pet either naturally or coming from Guardian Animals, just maybe trying to secure lethal.
Anubisath
that
well.
way. Yeah, Anubisath Defender as well, yeah, absolutely. So pretty interested in whether, you know, the different lines from Zhym could have maybe got him out there with a win. But commendation to SilverName, who kept his head in a pretty rough-looking situation, was able to get himself over the line.
Yeah, and in a rough series as well, because I think, honestly, after those first two games, SilverName was probably unhappy with this match of Hearthstone that was being played out. So keeping your head when you feel like you were just bound to lose this series, no matter what you did, is impressive and tough to do. But he's got to do it a couple more times if he wants to actually win this match. And as you can see, both players really do need that win. Zhym and SilverName both starting the weekend off at a 0-1 score.
Oh, those are not the minions we're looking for.
The field does get a little bit more narrow in Highlander Mage, doesn't it, of what you're actually after, or what's good from the spell damage discover? Mainly...
I feel like the good ones are still the good ones.
Right, but you can make much less use of the not good ones.
Oh, I
point,
see.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
It's much more narrow, right? Because like a fountain just doesn't really do anything in Highlander Mage, whereas in Tempo Mage it can still do work, so on, so on.
Right.
So you're really looking for the Solarians, the Exor Explorers, and so on.
I was kind of interested in this Ogre Magi pick because it looked like he might just be trying to set up Tempo Ogre Magi by going Doomsayer on 2 into Ogre Magi on 3, and that just would have amused me.
Sometimes plays are just funny.
Yeah.
Mystery choice if we're going by last game. Kind of a mystery choice, I guess.
It does happen, but it's not happening on curve, and for some reason I find that significantly less funny.
Is it because on curve as a 3-drop it would actually be a good minion?
It would be good, yeah. You'd just play a 3-mana 4/4 on curve. It would be sick.
With spell damage?
Yeah.
A simple spell should do.
Oh, finds the Wave of Apathy with double Cabal in hand. It's huge. Ooh, Thundra Rhino.
Does mean the Spellkin can get cleaned up. Have you ever realized that Tundra Rhino, the Tundra bit is kind of like a hard nut backwards?
What? Sorry, what did you
No?
even just say?
Oh, just looking at the name Tundra backwards. It's just
I
funny.
mean,
I'm at that
did
point.
you ever realize that Rhino is Onia backwards? Like, what
That's
what
not
does
as
any of
funny.
this mean?
That's not
Why
as
are we
funny.
saying these things,
That's
Raven?
not as funny.
Okay.
Imprisoned? Does look okay to come down now. I just wonder if it's going to be Firebrand to follow up with, but really just Brain Freeze just to kill off this 2-3.
Yeah, seems good.
Definitely looks a little bit better than just dropping the cart and hoping that Zhym doesn't have ways to proc this Sethic. I think this Sethic is a pretty high priority target right now.
And on probably the first serious note we've had all game, this matchup is sort of quite similar to the early game in the Priest mirrors, where it's a pretty aggressive battle for tempo, because once one player loses tempo, it's kind of hard for the other one to consistently climb back into it. They have like these big nuke buttons, but that style of AoE, like Amazing Reno, Plague of Death, all those kind of things, they're most effective against decks that like push in really, really hard and then are out of resources when you AoE them, right? That's when they're most effective. Against decks that actually are able to keep generating wave after wave of threats, they don't do anything because they take your whole turn and then your opponent just gets to redevelop.
And that's huge. Marsh Hydra number 2 of the day, Sottle. And also the Dreadlord in hand now for SilverName. He's just a pretty good minion on curve.
And also just Taz Nozwhisker.
Yeah. He's less cool.
Wait, what's the sequencing here? Don't you just Shadow of Death one of them and then steal the other one, depending on which one you want?
I...
Let me change your
So...
mind.
Interesting. Okay. Fine. This preserves a Cabal Acolyte, uses the Cabal Shadow Priest instead. But yeah, he did have the option to just go
Hey,
Shadow of Death, steal the other one, right? With the Cabal Acolyte, Shadow of Death, Wave of Apathy.
yeah, I guess this gets him the attack off as well.
You fight me, you get
So he gets to create the minion in hand, right, from the Marsh Hydra.
Immediately? Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
Oh! Wow, and the award for the pair of worst 7 drops in the world goes to those two.
7s are pretty high variance, to be fair.
I mean, it started off with a 4-4, didn't it? With the Dragoncaster.
Yep. Way too much health on board currently. 18 total.
Does have Nova to put a stop to it whenever he wants. So he now gets the knowledge of the enhanced Dreadlord.
I must consider.
Problem is, though, the Nova heal doesn't really solve the problem that he has with Reno. I guess this does actually just get him to the Plague turn, though, right? Which is the big deal right now.
It milks Plague of Death, which is kind of the idea here. And SilverName does have to continue to pressure to some degree. He can't just let that board go, because there's a good chance with like 9 full mana that Zhym will be able to develop past that pretty hard. So I think SilverName does his due diligence here, plays the absolute minimum.
Oh.
The fate of the world hangs in the balance.
Deep Freeze, at worst, a really good follow-up for the Caligos there. There was just a second where I considered Zephyrus into Tyrion, but this is arguably as strong, if not stronger, on average. And and also it means Zephyrus can be saved as a reactionary tool. But now, because of the relatively low power level, is this potentially... it's a bit of a risky one, but I was looking at Murazond.
You've developed a habit for this, Raven, of wanting to Murazond into situations where it can go catastrophically wrong.
But it could go so right as well. And it gives him the Shadow of Death anyway, even though it'd be free. I guess if it doesn't get targeted, if the Caligos isn't targeted, so he could cast it first. I don't know. Maybe it is too tricky. The main problem, though, is Zhym's just never had a point where he could just get hold of this board right now.
I mean, like, looking at that line realistically, you could death first, as you were saying, and then you have a 66% chance of winning the flip, right? With the Conjurer's
You
Calling.
death the 5/5, yeah.
Yeah, you death the 5/5, and then it lands on your own minion 2/3 of the time.
Your future
Aeon Reaver definitely going to help clean up this Colossus, though. But it is just a little bit of a worry that there's just a big minion on board, and I don't mean big stats-wise, but mana-wise for this Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah. Yeah, you certainly know this is going to be the play, right? Like, what else did you expect to happen?
Right.
And maybe this is the argument for your line, is that your Murazond isn't going to improve anytime soon, right? There's going to be a Conjurer's Calling in it next turn as well. A Wave of Apathy in hand to stall. We can see the nuttiness that is the Elucia into the board clear, but then even then there's a ton of high value cards being given over to the opponent.
Yeah, again, Elucia's a really hard card to cast, and that's not whether you know the mechanics or not, but it's like knowing what your opponent thinks of the opponent's hand. Like the player thinks of the opponent's hand, sorry.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I would look at Zhym's hand and go, well, his hand doesn't really do anything anyway. He could just die next turn. Maybe he has to Elucia and hope there's something in SilverName's hand. And he's going to. And that will be a Shadowword Ruin? Shadowword Ruin, am I talking about? Is this something... Yeah. Okay. What did that... I was thinking if there was something better to deal with the whole board, but there isn't, right? Nothing hits the Mana Saber as well.
No, the debate is Brawl. Like, you can argue that Brawl is better there because you just have the chance of winning, but you also have the chance of taking 12 from a Deathwing on the next turn, so...
And just to make things fair, SilverName gets hold of a Zephyrus as well.
So it's just Reno, Zephyrus, best thing it offers you, right? Surely. Which will be... what?
Well, you can Reno attack Zephyrus, right?
Oh, that's true. Then you get Van Cleef. That's insane. Yeah, that's insane. Let's do that. You get a 6/6 Van Cleef. That has to be the play.
The problem now is, if he plays Drake, it won't offer Zephyrus silence, right? Because there's nothing to silence. If he wants to play Zephyrus this turn as well, so he just gives him a card. SilverName going a completely different direction than what we were thinking here. I just want to know unless he just picks like I don't know, like a Pyroblast or something. Is that what he's gonna pick?
Backstab.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, I can get behind this as well.
Still kind of like Reno Zephyrus attack Van Cleef better.
I mean, this AA is savage. It has Reborn and Death Rattle.
Yeah, it's fair.
Insane. Look at SilverName, cannot believe it.
What? Okay. Nails the Reborn. Broom off the top.
Yeah.
Gale thus? Hey,
well played.
Sure.
My question here is, did Zhym need to make all these trades?
What did you want him to do?
Like, he could have just killed like a Mana Saber? Because I feel like these trades make SilverName's turn better in a weird way, because Zhym's just trading into this like repetitive Reborn Death Rattle minion anyway. Like, what if he just left him with an 8/8 on the board against Zhym's board?
Sure.
It's only one attack, right? I don't know. That confused me a little bit, I will admit. But that's SilverName's potentially game-winning card. That makes sense, though, right? This board could have looked at just one 8/8. Yes, it has the Reborn and Death Rattle, but it's 188 versus all of those trades happening. The Murazons can be pinged now. The Drakes could also be removed quite easily as an 8-4, at least the first half of it. And SilverName's just still got stuff to attack with. It feels like a little bit of an overreaction from Zhym.
Well, so I guess the problem is that Zhym knows that SilverName has both Deep Freeze and Dreadlord in his hand. So if he doesn't deal with the board now, the board can just go face and freeze his board, and he's like, it's still going to take him a very, very long time to chew through it, and maybe he just dies in that period. Like, I'm not sure. I'm giving you possible answers from Zhym's point of view, but I don't like disagree with your line of criticism.
Right. Well, suddenly now though, the Reno finally gets his day in the sunlight or spotlight, I guess. Cleaning up this board, and we are edging ever closer to SilverName opening the dreaded box. Does have Dreadlord, but does that achieve that much right now?
Really, right? 5-7 into 5-5 just gets gobbled up on board from what we can see.
I guess depending on how confident you are, it might make Zhym play more stuff into the box turn.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if he wants to milk the box, then sure, this is absolutely the play. His idea of the game-winning box is just kill as many resources as possible from Zhym's side, then yeah, sure, sign me up.
Well,
yeah, forget about everything that I was just saying.
SilverName's gonna be upset.
SilverName's delighted. This is just the more adversity he faces, the greater the box, Raven.
Okay, the better the clip is at the end of the show with the box.
Exactly.
And here we go.
1, 2. Nothing into nothing. 3 spells to do anything at all.
SilverName does need a morale improvement, I think, after this.
Board got worse.
And got worse. And there's the concede, and that's going to be the series. SilverName, full Pika face there. Just cannot believe how terrible that box was. It almost did nothing whatsoever. Zhym going to take the series there, and what a weird last match of the day. Is this a theme, Sol? Now are our last matches of the day just going to be strange?
I mean, I think for one, we went to the wrong player's full screen at the end of that. I think SilverName's reaction was far more entertaining. Is just, wait, hang on, you can play Puzzle Box and not win the game immediately? Like, admin? Is this supposed to happen? But I mean, yeah, I don't know how much of it is that the games at the end are just objectively more ridiculous, and how much of it is it's the end of the day, so we're kind of more tired and more stupid and more and dumber and memeier, and we kind of make them seem that way. Probably somewhere in the middle of both. But yeah, last couple of days it does seem like we've ended on some pretty crazy series.
Yeah, it has been a pretty crazy weekend though. I have enjoyed those getting into round robin now, honestly, because now we get to see something that, although I enjoyed the 3 weeks of rotating formats, now we get to see the impact on the meta. Yes, we've got the nerfs coming in, and then next weekend we actually don't have Grandmasters, funnily enough, because there is a Masters Tour Montreal next weekend. So it's still going to be on this YouTube channel, of course, so make sure you subscribe and get the notifications live for that. We are going to be casting that next weekend, but most importantly, this week and next week's Masters Tour is going to have a large impact on the meta for the following week, which will be back to our regular schedule of Grandmasters. But let's check out the scores so far. Bunny Hopper and RDU sitting at 2-0 in Division A. Sottle, is there a better place to be?
Well, no, obviously not. Being at the top of the better of the two divisions is the best place you can possibly be, Raven. It's kind of true by definition, but thanks for asking. Bunny and RDU, two incredible players, two incredible performances up to this point, and honestly, like, the amount of hype that I gave Blyze at the start of the tournament, like, you know, setting him up as unbeatable and everything was going to go his way and he was going to destroy everyone, that seems to have moved on, like, kind of by transitive property to RDU. Like, RDU was the person that could overcome Blyze, and now RDU himself seems unstoppable. I didn't quite realize that's how Hearthstone worked, but apparently it is.
Yeah, and then overlooking at Division B, we do have SilverName now after that loss, 0-2 in Division B, the worst start you can have in the Grandmasters since I feel like pointing those out today for some reason. So he's not looking too great, but the rest of the pack sitting at mostly 1-1 scores with Warmer and Boston sitting at the top. But as you can quite rightly see, not every player plays 2 matches every week. It does change a little bit, so there is still some differences that can make some players do have a game in hand, so to speak. But any final words as we finish week 1 of the round robin? So.
Well, first off, I've got to know, when you said that, did a part of your brain go, oh god, he's going to bury me for this, isn't he?
No, I think you're in the mindset where you would have found it funny, so I was pretty confident.
All right, fair enough. Final words, of course, thank you for joining us for what was an incredible week of Grandmasters. Make sure you do check out the Masters Tour next week, which both myself and Raven will be involved with. If you want information on the whole esports program that's going on, by the way, how you can qualify for the Masters Tour, how Masters Tours feed into Grandmasters, rules, prize monies, everything, you can find all of that at playhearthstone.com/esports. And please do subscribe to the channel that you are most likely watching this on right now, youtube.com/Hearthstone Esports. Not only for Grandmasters coverage, but for Masters Tour coverage and for all sorts of additional content, mulligan guides, dumb debates between me and TJ, weekly recaps with Raven, and now player interviews as well if you've missed those. And make sure you subscribe to the channel to check out all that stuff as well.
Jeez, I only asked for a couple of words, Sol. You blabbed on a bit there.
I can keep going if you want. I can do this all day.
I know
I can
you
shill all day, Raven.
I know you can, and I know I don't want you to, at least for now. Save it up for next weekend. But no, thanks a lot for watching. We appreciate it. Hope you had a great time, and we will see you next week. Same time, same place, roughly. But it is going to be Masters Tour Montreal, so we will be casting it all weekend. But for now, Americas is going to kick off for their final day of week 1 of Round Robin with TJ and Frodan. So make sure to stick around and check them out. But for now, we are done. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.